Welcome back, everyone. This past week was potentially the biggest week that I've had yet. As you all know, I've been working at this in some form or another every day since the middle of this past September 2024. And slowly it grew into what it is now through lots of conceptualizing and building out of workflows and procedures and trackers and outlining stories and arcs and thinking through mechanics and just layer upon layer of effort. And I had noticed that I hadn't seen a ton of actual drafting. My writing and my learning of lessons was often like very start and stop. I would feel like I got the system to a place where I could engage with it as a student. And then 4 lessons in, I had identified 15 issues that I felt like I needed to fix. And if I didn't fix them, I wouldn't be learning or operating in the way that I should be to best, represent what I was doing. Every time I decided to pause and update the system and the procedures and the workflows, it would take me a month to get back to a place where I felt like I had iterated everything enough to try again. And I think this process where I felt like I was ready to started in January. So that was my first engagement as a student. It lasted 3 days. And I then embarked on a month of updating. And then I re-engaged, and it must have lasted, I don't know, maybe 4 days or a couple days the first week and a couple days the second week. I mean, I can look up the actual numbers because I have it all, but not much. And I paused for another update. This happened one more time, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. And since then, I've decidedly tried to stop updating the system continually, identifying things that I think could be better, or for some reason the logic in the system doesn't operate as smoothly as it had in past iterations. So I needed to drop all the pretense of getting everything perfect and start engaging as a writer more. And I did that. I think this week I made the biggest step and I took 5 lessons. I mean, I wrote over 8,000 words of real, right from the heart, drafted words. Now, if those turn into 4,000 second draft words, then man, what a week this is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can't express how this has made me feel. And by engaging in the lessons daily, I have upped my engagement with journaling. I have more journal entries than I've had in months. I have had more discussions and sessions than I've had in months. I have reflected. I have engaged in the system fully just through engaging in the lessons daily. It's hard to express when you've been working on something like this by yourself for so long, like what that actually shows you. It shows me that what I'm doing not only does it make sense, but it works. And like, it's easy to forget pieces of it along the way until you fully engage. And I did, and it's been unbelievable. I think I had to drop some of my public content. In the last couple months, I've been really trying to focusing on building my public facing content. And that's TikToks and Reddits and analytics and trying to figure out, how to get traction. And like, I thought that if I could build a little bit of a foundation, then throughout this, I could slowly build on that. And as I'm writing, I'm building and then they could come to, I I had to drop all worry about that for now and just dig into the system. I was procrastinating by proxy. So yeah, I mean, there's not much else. After such a productive week, I was going through my tracker and I realized how much data I had actually put in, and I had been putting off something structural, which was redesigning my time machine tab, which is essentially the tab that I could put in. I could pull up any day and see everything I did. And I had conceptualized that as just like a cool way to look back at my data, because I wanted to be able to essentially step back in time and pick any day throughout this process and go back and look at everything I did that day. Because this is designed to have journaling and discussions and sessions and reflections on real life. And it's designed to capture me, as fully as I can. So that time machine tab just seemed like a cool concept, but I hadn't updated it since I've changed a ton of tabs on my tracker. I dropped a bunch. I consolidated a bunch. So I did that today, and it is now better than it ever was. It has an awesome summary. It has fields that one day I'm going to actually cut in actual screen shares, but right now I'll show you a little bit. If you can see this is one of my tabs, and I'm going to go to my time machine tab. And now I have in cell A2, I input a start date, and in cell B2, I input an end date. And this is last Saturday, so that's the day after my last tracks day, and this is today. And now this is my summary bar. I have 8 tests done this week, 13 and a quarter hours, 8,093 drafted words, 5 lessons done, 4 scenes drafted, now 5 because, I didn't track that scene. I just took a lesson, now. Look at all this. I mean, this is my journals. This is draft and journal words written. So like just practicing the craft of writing, I wrote over 9,000 words this week. Here's all the tasks that I got done and the hours. This is essentially a snapshot of my daily progress tracker from this week. Here's my iteration tracker. There's only one, and this is the session where I updated the time machine tab. My writing progress. Here's all my scenes that I wrote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why isn't that? Oh, I know why it's not logging. One of the scenes I wrote is actually for book 2. So it didn't count against my drafted words written, or no, my scenes drafted. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't recognize that. Sundering progress. I mean, here's my timeline tracker. These are, the Binky Fairy came from my daughter this week. So that was something that I threw in my timeline. My first Monday where I took a lesson while my daughter was home with me. That was something I threw on my timeline because that's not something that gets logged really anywhere else. Outlining tracker. My dream tracker. I wrote a couple of dreams this week. Morning health and productivity tracker. This is, I'm tracking my coffee and sugary drinks, my showers, my meditations. I take notes on which meditation, and I actually provide the link, and I rate them 1 through 10. My narrative and plot tracker. Here's my therapy themes tracker. This breaks down themes from scenes and all sorts of stuff. Like this new time machine tab has changed. It's changed my life. It's changed the way I can look at my data in an effective way. So anyway, this recap has already gone on quite long enough. If you want a little bit more of a structured breakdown, hop on over to Striding with Intention. That's my subreddit where I have right here, already up here, Stride Weekly Recap, May 17th through 23, the week I finally became the system that I built. So I'll throw the link down in the description. Thank you for anyone who's been following along. I couldn't be more excited for the future after a week like today, and even a day like today. A day like today, I made this time machine tab from nothing. I had a journal entry that I had a reflection on this morning, and then I had a full lesson where I wrote a new scene. And then not only that, but I have my weekly recap on YouTube and this video here. Like, look at all the stuff. I can't get over it. So anyway, I'm excited to see what next week brings, and I hope to see you there.